My name is Arwa, and the night my daughter said those 6 words, something inside me shattered more deeply than my broken arm ever could. I sat at the dining table, my sling tight against my chest, my breath trembling as if the air around me had suddenly gained weight. The house felt too quiet, too still, like the walls were friends. Before we start this story, I want to ask you a small favor. If what you hear resonates with your heart, please subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. And in the comments, let me know what city or state you're listening from. It always warms my spirit to see how many of us are out there. Enjoy the story. Holding their breath, watching me. My daughter Mehek, only 9 years old, swung her legs casually as she munched on cereal, her eyes far too calm for a child who had just witnessed her mother return from the hospital. "Mama, Papa ni asko sebek sikadia," she said again, her tone almost proud, almost relieved, as if a burden had been lifted from her tiny shoulders. Those words crawled under my skin. "Kisko?" I whispered, forcing my voice to stay steady. My husband, Zion, was upstairs showering. He had insisted I slipped on the stairs. The doctor believed it because I didn't contradict him, not when Zion's hand was tightly gripping my shoulder in the A, his smile stiff, his eyes cold. "The woman who made you cry last night," Mehek replied, shrugging like it was nothing. My stomach twisted. "Last night?" I tried remembering every moment. I had cried, yes, but quietly, in our room where no one should have seen me. I had cried because I had heard Zion whispering on the phone in the balcony, arguing in that low, dangerous tone he used only when he was hiding something. But I didn't know Mehek had heard anything. And what woman was she talking about? Before I could ask more, footsteps echoed upstairs, Zion coming down. Instinctively, Mehek stopped talking. She straightened up, her eyes darting to the stairs. That tiny reaction, too sharp, too afraid, sent a chill up my spine. My daughter wasn't scared of the dark. She was scared of him. Zion entered the kitchen with his usual charming smile, the same smile that convinced everyone he was the perfect husband, the loving father, the successful businessman. But I had learned long ago that his smile meant nothing. His eyes always told the truth, and right now they were watching me too closely, as if waiting for me to say something wrong. "Feeling better?" he asked, kissing the top of my head. I flinched. He noticed. His smile tightened. "Stairs can be tricky," he added, his tone slightly lower. "Next time, be careful." Something in his voice felt like a warning disguised as concern. I forced a nod. "Mehek," he said, turning to her, "go change your clothes. I'm dropping you to school today." School? Today was Saturday. Mehek looked at me, panic rising in her eyes, but then she nodded robotically and went upstairs. The moment she disappeared, the kitchen felt colder. Zion leaned closer, placing his hand on the chair behind me, trapping me. "Tum bolnaku chadiho Arwa?" he whispered. "Hospital main be chup rahi." "Good." My heart thudded painfully. "What are you talking about?" He chuckled softly. "You know exactly what." Then he walked away, humming casually as if the conversation hadn't been terrifying. After he left the house with Mehek, silence swallowed everything. That was when my phone buzzed, an unknown number. A message. "Your daughter didn't lie. Check the backyard." My throat dried. My fingers shook as I pushed myself up, my injured arm screaming in pain. Step by slow step, I went to the backyard door. The morning sun cast long shadows across the grass, and the smell of damp earth greeted me. Everything looked normal. The swing, the garden lights, the old shed. But then I noticed something half buried near the fence, a piece of fabric. Slowly, heart pounding, I walked closer. It was a scarf, not mine, not Mahik's, not anyone's I recognized. Bright red, torn at the edges, as if someone had tried to pull it away violently. A shiver ran down my spine. Suddenly, my phone buzzed again. Another message from the same unknown number. He taught her a lesson. You're next. My breath stopped. I stumbled back, clutching the wall for support, fear slamming into my chest so hard I could barely stand. My mind raced. Who sent the message? What happened in my backyard last night? Who was the woman Mahek talked about, and what did Zion do? As I stood there trembling, I felt the sensation of being watched, not by someone outside, but by someone inside the house. Slowly, I turned toward the kitchen window. The curtains shifted. Someone was inside, someone who wasn't there a moment ago. And I realized with icy dread that whatever happened last night was far from over. It was just beginning. The curtains stopped moving the moment I looked at them, as if whoever had been standing there slipped away just a second before my eyes reached the window. My breath hitched, my skin tightening with a cold sweat that had nothing to do with the morning air. The house was supposed to be empty. Zion had taken Mahek. No one else had a key. No one. Yet I knew without a doubt someone was inside. I stepped backward slowly, afraid the wooden deck beneath my feet would creak and give away my location. My broken arm throbbed, but fear numbed everything else. I reached the back door, pushed it open just a crack, and listened. Silence, too perfect, too deliberate, as if the house itself was holding its breath again. Gathering courage I didn't feel, I slipped inside. The temperature felt lower, like someone had opened a window, though all windows were shut. A faint scent lingered, unfamiliar, something floral, not my perfume, not anything I owned. I swallowed hard, my pulse thundering as I scanned the kitchen. Counters neat, chairs pushed in, nothing out of place, but the air wrong. Slowly I moved deeper. The living room was dim, curtains half drawn, even though I hadn't touched them. I froze. Last night they had been open. Before I could think further, my phone buzzed sharply in my pocket. I flinched. The screen lit up with another message from the same unknown number. She begged him to stop. My knees weakened. My breath came out in a shaky exhale. Begged? Who begged? The woman mentioned by Maycake? The owner of the torn scarf? A shadow flickered in my peripheral vision. I spun, just the corner of the hallway, empty. My mind raced so fast it was hard to think, hard to breathe. Something had happened last night, something violent. Something Zion didn't want anyone to know. And someone, this unknown messenger, wanted me to find out. I stepped into the hallway slowly. The scent grew stronger here, like jasmine mixed with something metallic. Blood? A faint creak came from upstairs. My heart dropped into my stomach. Someone was definitely here. With trembling steps, I moved toward the staircase, pressing my uninjured hand on the railing. Every step made my chest tighten more. Halfway up, I paused. A whisper floated down, a soft, breathy sound like someone crying. My heart hammered. I reached the top of the stairs, turned left toward the bedrooms, and froze again. The floor, near the wall, was smudged, a faint dark streak, almost like something had been dragged across it. My vision blurred for a moment with fear. I forced myself to move closer. When I touched the smudge with trembling fingers, it flaked, dried blood. My stomach twisted violently. I backed away, my mind screaming to run, but my body frozen. Something flashed at the corner of my eye. The guest room door was slightly open, only slightly. This door stayed closed always, always. I moved toward it, pushing it slowly. The door creaked, and the cry I had heard earlier stopped instantly. My breath hitched. Inside, the room was dim. Curtains drawn, bed untouched, but on the floor there were scratches. Long, chaotic scratches, as if someone had crawled or clawed at the wooden surface in desperation. I staggered back, bile rising in my throat. What happened here? Who had been here? And where were they now? My phone buzzed again. Check your daughter's room. My heart almost stopped. I turned toward Mahik's room, each step feeling heavier than the last. The door was closed, but light glowed underneath, dim, flickering. I slowly pushed the door open. The room was a mess. Drawers half open, toys scattered, books fallen. But the most terrifying detail, the closet door was open. Wide open. Mahik never slept with it open. Never. A chill crawled up my spine as I took another step. The light flickering wasn't from a bulb. It was from a small battery-powered toy lamp on the floor, blinking inconsistently. I breathed in slowly, my voice barely leaving my throat. Kanhai? Silence. I crept closer to the closet. My hand shook violently as I reached for the door. When I pulled it back, nothing. Empty. I almost collapsed in relief until something near the back caught my eye. A phone, not mine. Not Zion's. A slim silver phone with a cracked screen, half hidden behind a stack of dresses. I picked it up with trembling fingers. The screen lit up instantly. No lock, no password, as if someone wanted me to open it. Only one video was on the screen, titled simply, 1:12 a.m., my blood turned to ice. My thumb hovered over the play button, shaking so hard I could barely press it. The video opened with darkness, just muffled crying in the background. Then a voice. Zion's voice, low, cold. Tum Mary Biwi Ko Rulaaya. Tum Usk Damag Main Zeher Dala. A woman sobbed, begging, Please, I didn't say anything. A loud thud. A scream. I covered my mouth with my hand, tears burning my eyes. Zion had beaten someone in my house, while I was asleep or unconscious. Then Mahik's small voice came through faintly. Papa. Stop, Zion hissed back. Room main Jiao. A second scream tore through the audio, then silence. My legs gave out. I slid onto the floor, the phone slipping from my hand. My husband had hurt someone, maybe killed someone, last night, and Mahik had seen everything. A sound echoed from downstairs, the front door unlocking. My breath froze. Zion was back. I scrambled to stand, my body trembling uncontrollably. Heavy footsteps echoed through the hallway below. Slow, steady, too steady. Arwa, he called out gently, too gently. Where are you? My skin crawled. This wasn't a husband coming home. This was a hunter searching for prey. I panicked and backed toward the far wall, my broken arm throbbing, my mind spinning. His footsteps reached the top of the stairs. He was coming. And I had no idea where to run, no idea how much he knew. No idea if he knew I had seen the video. Then my phone buzzed again. One last message. He knows you're watching. My breath shattered. Zion's voice came from right outside Mahak's room. Calm, soft, deadly. Arwa. Come out. We need to talk. I pressed myself against the wall, tears spilling from my eyes, praying he wouldn't open the door. Because I knew something with chilling certainty. If he found me right now, Zion's shadow slipped under the door before his hand even touched the handle, long and stretched across the floor like something alive. My heartbeat pounded so loudly I was terrified he could hear it. I wiped my tears with my trembling fingers and looked around frantically for anything, any corner, any place to hide. But Mahak's room was small, and he was already at the door. The handle turned, slowly, quietly, like he wanted to savor the moment. I stepped backward until my spine hit the wall, my breath trapped in my lungs. The door opened just an inch, then two. Then his face appeared through the small gap, calm, smiling, almost gentle. The same smile he used when lying to doctors, to neighbors, to me. Arwa, he whispered, why are you hiding? My voice refused to come out. I felt like a child trapped in a nightmare. He pushed the door wider and stepped inside, his eyes scanning the room. I pressed myself deeper into the corner, trying to stay out of his line of sight, but the second his gaze fell on the floor, he saw the silver phone. Lying there. Screen still lit. His expression didn't change, but something violent flashed in his eyes, a dark spark that told me he knew. He knew I had watched the video. Where did you find this? His voice was calm, too calm, as he bent down and picked up the phone. My throat tightened. Zion, please. He raised his head slowly, his eyes narrowing. Kitni Barbola Tha. Things you don't understand. Stay away from them. I shook my head, tears streaming. Tam kia kia hai? For the first time, his smile faded. The mask slipped. He straightened up and stepped toward me, one slow, deliberate step at a time. Wo orat, jin tumher dimag main mary burai dali. Jo tumir kalaf karn ki koshish kar rahi fi. Main yuzi chad data? My legs trembled. Kunthi wo? He tilted his head. Tumher ret yahan ayi fi. Tum spot ki fi. Tumri ankin main dare bar dia tha. Main bus. Yuzi rock dia. My vision blurred. Someone had come here. Someone had tried to warn me. And Zion had silenced her forever. My phone buzzed again. Zion's eyes flickered. In that half-second, I grabbed it and glanced at the screen. A final message. Run. I didn't think. I moved. I bolted past him, shoving him off balance. He stumbled, not much, but enough. I sprinted down the hallway, ignoring the fire shooting down my broken arm. Arwa, he roared behind me. My foot hit the top stair. I flew down as fast as I could. I nearly slipped but caught myself on the railing. I reached the main floor and rushed to the living room, the front door. If I could reach it, a hand grabbed my hair from behind and yanked me back so hard I screamed. I hit the floor, my injured arm smashing against the tiles. White-hot pain exploded in my body. I gasped and rolled away as Zion lunged toward me. His face twisted, no longer pretending, no longer smiling. A monster wearing the skin of the man I once loved. You should have stayed out of it, he snarled. Tum hurry Betty ni sab deklia, tum be deklia. Abe tum dono. He stopped, because something moved above us. On the stairs, footsteps, small ones, we both turned. Meg stood halfway down the staircase, trembling from head to toe, her school bag still on her shoulders as if she had just run back inside. Her cheeks were wet, her eyes wide. "Papa, stop," she whispered. Zion froze. "Meg, come here." She shook her head violently and lifted her phone, her tiny hand shaking, and pressed something on the screen. A loud sound filled the room. The video. The same violent, horrifying audio from last night played on speaker. Zion's voice, the woman's screams, Mahek begging him to stop. Zion's face went sheet white. He lunged toward her. "Mahek!" I screamed. Before he could reach her, Meg threw something down the stairs, something small, silver, the same cracked phone. It hit the floor near him and skidded to a stop. Zion looked down. And that pause, that tiny split second saved us. Because at that moment, the front door crashed open. Two silhouettes burst in. Police officers. One shouted, "Hands up." Zion spun toward them, pure fury twisting his face. "You don't understand. On the ground now." Mahek ran down the stairs and threw herself into my arms. I held her tightly with my good arm, sobbing against her hair as the officers forced Zion to the floor and cuffed him. He screamed, twisted, fought, but they pinned him down, and finally, the house was quiet, really quiet. The kind of quiet that didn't feel heavy or dangerous, just empty, safe. One officer approached us gently. "We got an anonymous call a few minutes ago," he said softly. "Someone sent us a location pin, a video recording, and a message saying, 'Hurry before he kills them too.'" My breath stopped. Anonymous. The same person who messaged me? Who? I whispered. The officer shook his head. No name. No info. Just a voice-modified message. Zion screamed again as they dragged him outside. Mahek clung to me tighter. And I realized something chilling. Something that wrapped around my spine like ice. Zion wasn't the only one in this story with secrets. Someone else had been in our house last night. Someone who recorded everything. Someone who texted me. Someone who saved our lives. And someone who still hadn't revealed themselves. As the police car lights flashed across our walls, painting the house red and blue, my phone buzzed one last time. A new message. From the same unknown number. "This isn't over." He wasn't working alone. My blood ran cold, because that meant only one thing. The real danger was still out there. The flashing red and blue lights of the police car outside slowly dimmed as Zion was led away, screaming and struggling against the officer's grip. But the tension in the house didn't leave. I sank to the floor, still holding Mahek close, my good arm around her trembling shoulders, trying to steady my own racing heart. The house felt empty, yet suffocating, like the walls themselves remembered the violence that had taken place, and the shadows whispered secrets that I wasn't ready to hear. Mahek's small voice trembled. "Mama, Will he come back? I hugged her tighter. No, Theta, he can't hurt us anymore. Not now. But even as I said it, the pit in my stomach didn't vanish. The unknown number's message echoed in my mind. He wasn't working alone. That meant danger was still out there. Someone had been inside our house last night. Someone who had recorded everything. Someone who had sent the messages that ultimately saved our lives. And that someone was still unknown. I slowly got to my feet, still clutching Mayhek, and moved toward the living room. The police were finishing up, bagging the evidence, taking Zion's phone, the silver-cracked phone from Mehik's room, and everything else that might connect him to what he had done. One officer lingered near us. Ma'am, we'll need you to come to the station for a statement, and your daughter as well. Also, keep your phone on. Whoever sent those messages may contact you again. I nodded, swallowing hard. Yes, of course. The officer left, and the house felt unbearably quiet. I couldn't stop thinking about who had sent those texts. Why had they helped us? Why now? My eyes wandered to the stairs. The shadows seemed longer, darker, as if waiting. I shivered and held Mayek closer. Mama, she whispered. I don't want to stay here alone. I nodded. We won't. We'll leave as soon as the police finish here. We'll stay somewhere safe. But inside, I knew safe didn't exist anymore. Not yet. After the officers left, we began packing a few essentials. Mayhek stayed close to me, silent most of the time, her small hand holding mine tightly. The house, once a place of comfort, now felt like a trap, every room a memory of last night's terror. As we got to the door, I noticed the closet in my bedroom slightly ajar. My heart skipped. Nothing had been moved before. Carefully, I approached and peeked inside. The closet was empty, except for my clothes, but at the bottom, partially hidden by a pair of shoes, was a small envelope. No name, no markings, except a single word written in messy handwriting. Truth. My pulse raced as I picked it up and opened it. Inside was a set of photographs, blurry but recognizable. Zion meeting someone I didn't know in a parking lot last month, a woman handing him an envelope, both of them glancing around nervously. Alongside the photographs was a note. He wasn't alone. Find her before he does. My stomach churned. Someone wanted me to find this woman. Someone had been tracking Zion, probably for months. But why hadn't they intervened sooner, and why now? I felt a strange mix of fear and determination. I had to know the truth. Mayhek tugged at my sleeve. Mama, who is she? I shook my head, trying to calm my racing thoughts. I don't know yet, Beta, but we'll find out. And we'll be safe together. We left the house, locking the door behind us, my bag clutched tightly, the envelope with the photographs hidden deep inside. The drive to the safe house was silent. Mayhek stared out the window, her reflection looking fragile against the passing streetlights. I couldn't stop thinking about Zion's accomplice. Whoever she was dangerous. But she was also a key to understanding everything, why he did it, how far he had planned this. Hours later, after ensuring we were settled in a small, unassuming apartment provided by the police, I sat with Mayek on the couch, examining the photographs again. Each image seemed to hold a clue, a pattern, a meaning, a familiar gesture. I traced one of Zion's hands in the photographs, the envelope he received, and something clicked. The handwriting on the note, the envelope, Even the style of the photograph, it wasn't professional. Someone close to him, maybe even someone in our circle, had been watching him, documenting him. But who? And why had they helped us at the exact moment we were in danger? The questions piled up, but there were no answers yet. I felt the weight of responsibility pressing down. I had to protect Mahik, uncover the truth, and ensure no one else suffered because of Zion or whoever was still out there. That night, Mahek fell asleep curled against me, exhausted from the day's terror. I stayed, awake, scanning the envelope, the photographs, my phone. Hours passed. And then, as the apartment clock ticked past midnight, my phone buzzed. A new message from the same unknown number. You're getting closer. Don't trust anyone completely. My hands shook. I read it again. My mind raced. They were guiding me, warning me, but also keeping secrets. Someone out there had a plan, and I was now a part of it. The next morning, I called the police, reporting the photographs and the note. They promised protection and investigation. But deep inside, I knew they wouldn't move fast enough. I had to take matters into my own hands. Mahak watched me, eyes wide but trusting. Mama, what will we do? I took a deep breath. We'll find her, Beta, the woman, the one who helped him, and then we'll finally know the full truth. Days passed. Clues began to appear. Small messages, a location pin, hints that Zion's accomplice had left behind. Each time, I felt a mix of hope and terror. The more I uncovered, the more dangerous it became. The line between ally and enemy blurred. Friends we trusted, neighbors, even distant relatives, anyone could be involved. And every new clue led me closer to the answer, but also deeper into the unknown. One evening, I received another photograph in the mail. It showed a woman from behind, sitting in a cafe, glancing at her phone nervously. The note attached, "She's waiting for you to find her. Don't make a mistake." My pulse raced. That could be Zion's accomplice or someone else entirely, but I couldn't wait. I knew I had to move carefully, yet swiftly, for Mahak, for myself, for the truth. And so, with my bag packed, the photographs in hand, and Mahek clinging to me, we prepared to step out into the night, into the unknown, ready to confront whatever danger awaited. Because I had learned one thing from the past events: fear was a tool, but courage was the only way to survive. And whatever lay ahead, I would face it with my daughter at my side, determined to uncover the secrets that had nearly destroyed our lives. As we stepped into the darkened street, my phone buzzed one last time. A final message for now. The next move is yours. Choose wisely. I looked down at Mahek, her eyes wide but resolute. I swallowed hard, tightened my grip on her hand, and whispered, "We're not running anymore. We're finding the truth." And with that, we disappeared into the night, leaving behind the house, the horrors, and stepping into the path of the unknown, where the real story and the real danger was waiting for us. The night air was heavy, almost suffocating. As Mahak and I moved through the deserted streets, the envelope of photographs clutched tightly against my chest. Every shadow seemed alive, every whisper of the wind a warning. I had planned our next move carefully. We were heading to the location hinted at in the last photograph, the cafe where Zion's accomplice had been spotted. My pulse pounded not only from fear, but from the awareness that this could be the moment that changed everything. If we miscalculated, There would be no turning back. Make held my hand tightly, her small fingers trembling but refusing to let go. Mama, are we going to be okay? I glanced down at her, forcing a smile even though my stomach knotted with anxiety. We will, Beta. I promise. We have to be smart, stay quiet, and be ready for anything. The cafe was quiet when we arrived, its warm lights casting long reflections on the wet pavement. From outside I could see a figure, a woman, dark hair tied back, head bent toward her phone. She looked up briefly, scanning the street, and I froze. That had to be her, Zion's accomplice. Or at least someone tied to him. I felt Mahek's grip tighten. Mama? I whispered, signaling her to stay behind the wall as I stepped forward slowly, trying to make my presence unnoticed. My heart raced so fast I thought it would explode. I had to confront her, get answers, but I had no idea how she would react. Ally? Enemy? And what if Zion was already aware of this meeting? As I approached, the woman's eyes flicked up, sharp and calculating, as if she had expected me. My chest tightened. Arwa, she said calmly, her voice low but firm. You've been following the breadcrumbs, haven't you? My mouth went dry. Who are you? And why were you helping us? She stood and took a measured step closer. I'm someone who has been watching Zion for months. I knew what he was capable of. The messages, the warnings, that was me. I didn't know you were involved until last night. Relief and suspicion warred inside me. Why? Why help us? Why not call the police directly? She shook her head. Because the system doesn't act fast enough. I've been tracking him silently, gathering evidence. Zion, he's dangerous. And he has people. Her words sent another shiver down my spine. People? I asked, voice barely above a whisper. Yes, he wasn't alone. And until last night, no one knew exactly what he was planning. My grip on the envelope tightened. So, this is all true. He hurt someone. Yes, she admitted. And if you hadn't acted, it would have escalated further. I don't know why you survived last night, but you did. That's why I sent the messages. I felt a mix of gratitude and dread. We need to stop him, now. She nodded. We do, and I can help you. But you have to trust me. I hesitated, thinking of the betrayal, of the unknown factor. Could I really trust someone connected to him, even partially? Mahek tugged my sleeve, reminding me why I had to. I nodded firmly. All right. We have to end this. Tonight. She led us down a narrow alley behind the cafe, her steps quick, sure. I followed, Mahek clinging to me, heart hammering with every step. Eventually, we arrived at a small, abandoned warehouse. The doors were slightly ajar, light flickering from inside. My stomach twisted, fear and determination colliding. Stay here, the woman said softly to Maiki, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. I'll handle him. You stay hidden. I nodded reluctantly, hiding behind a stack of crates, peeking through the shadows. Inside, Zion was pacing, unaware of the approach. His eyes flicked to the shadows as the woman entered confidently. Zion, she said sharply. We need to talk. He stopped, surprised, but masking it quickly with a dangerous smirk. You? How did you? She held up her hand. I know everything. The threats, the videos, your little plans. But it ends tonight. His expression darkened. You think you can stop me? You don't know what I'm capable of. She stepped forward, unflinching. I do, and you're not as clever as you think. I held my breath, watching from my hiding spot. Tension crackled in the air. Then Zion lunged at her. She dodged effortlessly, revealing she had been trained, prepared. They struggled, shadows moving violently against the warehouse walls. I felt fear tighten around my chest, but I also felt hope. She had been preparing for this, waiting for him to make a mistake, and now he had. I realized that the element of surprise, combined with her knowledge, was the key. Step by step, Zion's confident assault faltered. His strikes became desperate, wild. Then, with a final swift move, she disarmed him, pushing him to the ground. He gasped, pinned, and I knew this was the moment. I stepped out from the shadows, Mehek close behind me. It's over, Zion, I said, my voice steady despite the shaking in my limbs. He looked up at me, rage twisting his face, but there was defeat in his eyes now. This isn't the end, he hissed. I shook my head. It is, for you. The police are on their way. You're done. He struggled once more, but the woman had complete control. The sound of sirens in the distance made him flinch. I felt my chest release, relief washing over me in a wave so strong it almost made me cry. The woman handed me a small recording device. All evidence, everything he did, everything he planned. The police will take care of it now, I nodded, gratitude overwhelming my exhaustion. Mehek clung to me, looking up at the woman. Thank you, she whispered. I smiled at her daughter, then back at the woman. We'll never forget this. The woman shook her head. Just stay safe. And never let anyone like him near you again. Soon, police cars arrived, lights flashing, officers moving in to secure the warehouse. Zion was arrested on multiple charges: assault, threats, and conspiracy. The accomplice he had planned with was revealed, and thanks to the woman who had guided us, all evidence was documented. Days later, as we returned to a small new apartment, Meika held my hand tightly. Mama, are we really safe now? I hugged her close. Yes, Beta, we are. And we'll stay that way. For the first time in weeks, the weight in my chest lifted slightly. The nightmare was over. Zion was gone, his plans exposed, and the unknown person who had helped us, my mysterious ally, had ensured justice. I looked at Mehek, smiling through tears. We were alive, together, and free. And though the scars of that night would never fully fade, I knew one truth: courage, love, and determination could overcome even the darkest of threats. For the first time since it all began, I felt peace. The sun rose over the city, casting its warm light into our apartment. Mehek laughed softly as she played with her toys, the fear of yesterday replaced with the security of today. I held her, breathing deeply, knowing we had survived, and that no matter what came next, we would face it together. Our story finally had a full ending, one of justice, survival, and hope. And that's how Arwa and Mehek faced the darkness and survived. Friends, if this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Share in the comments which part scared you the most, and tell me which city or country you're watching from. It always warms my heart to see how many of us are out there. Stay tuned for more real-life suspense stories, and remember, sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction.